millionaires in their mid-20s. Their toys, Ferraris and helicopters. Their starter homes, lavish country houses. It's a fast, high-tech world where 20-year-olds earn six-figure salaries, where giants who try to stop them are cut down to size, and where you can get rich playing games. For 2 years, computers have been decoding the signals of an alien from outer space. He's now about to descend on Earth to capture evidence of human existence. Cosmic Spacehead is the new video game of Richard and David Darling. Now millionaires in their mid-20s, they began writing games while still at school.
Right, in this week's Soft Spot, we're talking to two brothers. We're talking to Richard and to David Darling, who are very enterprising. They, in fact, own their own computer software company.
Richard did a game in '84 called BMX Racers that was about racing BMX bikes.
Who actually helped you get your own company started?
Well, we did it on our own to start off with.
Right.
But then after a few months, our father helped us market the programs.
But then they wanted to leave school and actually do it full-time, and that sort of concerned me.
I think I would have been 17 and Richard would have been 16, and we would have made something like £200,000 that year.
Oh, good. Christmas presents for everybody. You know what to ask for now.
In 1986, to avoid being ripped off, the Darlings formed a company called Codemasters to control their own publishing. Now, at converted farm buildings in Warwickshire, it employs 75 people and turns over £10 million a year. The days of amateur tycoons are gone. The video games business is worth around £800 million a year in Britain alone. A game can cost millions to produce, and missing peak sales at Christmas can drive a video star to ruin. If Cosmic's not to be at Turkey this Christmas, he must be served up on time. The project involves a production team of 60 people who began work 2 years ago with a storyline on paper.
We sat down for a couple of weeks and tried to work out everything he'd do throughout the whole game. The next thing we did was we roughed out all the locations he would visit. We did line drawings of the places he'd go and worked out all the objects which are in those places which he could interact with.
Cosmic Spacehead is a boy that is from the 50s. He gets involved in all sorts of adventures. The 50s design was based around molecular structures and weird designs. There seemed to be a fear of aliens. That era was a good basis in which to draw these styles from, because the shapes are very cartoony. These were the original drawings that we were looking at.
I personally think this is a lovely position, but he looks very childish. And he looks like a sort of 3-year-old boy that keeps on falling over, and we don't want to get that across.
We do have to increase the age quite considerably.
If we keep him looking like this, basically you're only going to appeal to young children and not the adult market or the teenage market, which we also want to do as well.
Cosmic falls down on his opening screen test. He's too young and too fat for the space adventure ahead.
This little guy here, he's Cosmic, and what happened is that he accidentally stumbled across planet Earth, and when he moved back to his own planet, no one believed what he'd been doing. So the idea of this game is to become a hero that's discovered another planet by bringing up enough proof to show everyone else that he actually did do it. Storyboards are great because you can just rough things out and put loads of colour on, which is especially useful in this game because we're trying to make it quite garish and bright so that it's going to appeal to kids as well as adults.
I like this character in particular.
So did I.
But I just thought he's a bit too old and a bit too wacky races.
We didn't want a sort of 40, 50-year-old star space person.
No.
Now Cosmic's grown too much. Meanwhile, the paper storyboards of scenery and props are being developed on computer.
My job at Codemasters is to put everything visual that you would see in a video game on screen. This particular one is a place called Dodgy City, a derelict, run-down, basically seedy-looking city. Here I've started off with just the line drawings, and after a while we'll end up with something like that. But it's still looking a little bit empty. We need something more, especially in this area here. And so what we'll do, we'll start adding some foreground, like so. And we've added the teleporter as well, which you'll have to use. Across here, we've just added a few dustbins just to bring out the light. There we have the complete background which will be used within the game.
And these are the final. So yes, the final illustrations of this, this character.
That is
Stunning.
superb.
That's excellent.
I'm from the advertising industry, basically, and you get to draw doggo meat or, you know, something for double glaze and something like that. With the video world, it opens up a whole new ballgame.
The show now has a big star, supporting cast, scenery and script. Even the builders on site are part of the production process.
A very fundamental ethic of the company is that all the important decisions need to be made with the game playability in mind. We have lots of small rooms so that every programmer can sit in his room, close the door, concentrate and get the job done. So even the design of the offices ultimately leads to better games.
If you analyse it in enough detail, you can make sure that the core of each game is basically fundamentally playable, and then adding on to that the more superficial things like the style of graphics or the storyline.
Cosmic appears on stage for his first rather wooden dress rehearsal.
This particular part of the game is where Cosmic has to get some gas for his space car, and he has to do that by moving down into the space station and solving some puzzles. These graphics are ready for the programmer to put into the game now.
The still drawings of Cosmic and his adventure must now be brought to life, and a different version of the game will be written for each type of games machine, a task that takes years.
There's going to be like maybe 7 formats that it goes on. Sega Mega Drive, Game Gear, Master System, IBM PC, Amiga, and each one of those is going to probably take, I would have thought, an average of about a year to program, with maybe an average of 3 or 4 people on each project. So that would work out to about 28 years. So yeah, it's a big project. My ambition was always to be a Formula One racing driver, because the games have sold well. It's given us a relative amount of success. I thought, well, I've always liked motor racing, so I'll buy a Ferrari, because I think everybody wants to do that.
I have quite a demanding job, quite long hours, so when I've finished work and I go home, I like to do things that are less demanding, and that reflects in my car. You know, I don't want a really fast sports car so I can tear around the countryside.
I just like fun things, and he's like got a kid and a wife, and he's a bit more of a mature person. I'm still like a child.
I moved into this house just a few weeks ago. My wife, Alison, and my daughter Lucy lives here as well. She's just coming up to 2 years old. Got another little baby on the way, so we needed another bedroom. And we liked the idea of having a garden big enough for the kids to run around in.
So I just learned how to fly a plane just for fun. It's just like playing a video game, it's just a challenge. And then when I did that, I thought, what can I do next? So I just thought, I'll do a helicopter. People that are really motivated are quite eccentric. So, I mean, like, you know, like I fly helicopters and planes and drive fast cars, and it's not, I'm not trying to boast or anything like that. It's not that at all. I'm trying, it's because I keep setting myself challenges.
I think he's a lot more intense than I am. He's a lot quicker to come to decisions and then to do them, which is often very good. It means that he gets an awful lot done, but the downside is that he sometimes does things that turn out retrospectively to be a little too hasty. That's the difference between him and me, but I wouldn't say that's a criticism, because there's the positive side as well. It means that he can achieve an awful lot.
He's very laid back, whereas I'm a bit more fiery and blow my top and stuff like that. So we work well together, because like on my own I'd probably get carried away and annoy people. But on his own he might not actually get it done.
Codemasters has remained independent of the Japanese and American games giants. A stand recently tested in court over a device called Game Genie.
Game Genie is a Codemaster creation, created actually a couple of years ago for use with the Nintendo games machine. It's since gone on to Sega and stuff. Basically what it does, it allows players to change the rules of any games. What you do, you simply take a regular Nintendo game, attach the Game Genie to it, plug it into the game set. I've inputted a code which makes Mario jump a lot higher than normal. That's like his normal jump, that's about as much as he can do. Now I've got Game Genie on with a mega jump, he can actually jump right through the roof and actually run along the top, avoiding all the hazards in this level, and go into warp zones, so make sure that it gets to level 2, 3 or 4. Now I skipped 3 levels.
Nintendo sued, saying Game Genie infringed its copyright. The Darlings stood firm.
Well, we've developed a very high level of expertise in copyright and patent issues. So if people try to suggest that we are infringing, then we'll defend. And I'm quite happy that we don't ever infringe, and so we'll always defend. It doesn't matter how big they are.
Game Genie cut Mario down to size. The case backfired and cost Nintendo damages of $15 million. About $3 million will go to the Darlings, a useful bonus on their earnings to date. When did you first become a millionaire, do you reckon?
I don't know. It's impossible to say what point it happened.
But several years ago?
Yes.
Everybody, when they're brought up, they realise that money buys them freedom and money buys them what they want. So everybody always wants more money, it's just human nature. So I still want to earn more money so I can do more things, and but it's kind of like an instinct.
The Darlings are not alone in earning enormous salaries. Their employees too can become young millionaires.
All the developers that develop software for us are paid not on salaries but as a commission on the sales. Royalties in the same way as the music business and the record business.
Do you earn a lot of money?
When games do well, then the programmers and developers get a percentage of the sales revenue.
You do earn a lot of money, yeah.
Roughly how much might your top paid person be earning at the moment?
Maybe like £300,000 a year.
At what age?
21, 20.
Hard work, lots of cash. That's the way. Yeah. I don't know anyone else who's in a more lucky position than people who are working here at the moment, so...
The developers say they earn their money. Turning Cosmic into a moving character will mean writing 1,000 pages of computer code.
Toby and Damon will provide me with a screen like that, which is just all the frames of animation. I'll put it through a program which will convert all those frames into just a big list of numbers. We animate the character, we work out how high he can jump, how fast he can run. This particular effect's quite complex because there are quite a few parts to it. The whole thing probably took about 4 or 5 days to do in actual programming time.
As the music and sound effects are programmed in, Cosmic is behind schedule. Deadlines for the vital Christmas launch are pressing.
You might get 3 or 4 people working, for like 3 days without any sleep, trying to get it finished. And then you'll find some bugs in it, and then you'll have to wake them up and and they come back in, and you've got to put pressure on them to get it out. Most people cope with it. We've had a couple of people crack up.
With exhausted programmers asleep at last, it's time to make prototype game chips ready for testing. Teams of young volunteers play the game and write the list of every programmer's nightmare.
Sometimes if you've got an obscure bug, that might cause the monster that comes on to the end of level 3 to appear backwards instead of forwards, or to, you know, fall through an invisible hole in the ground. And trying to find the link between the cause and the effect is very difficult.
The first sample which went into testing, we'd, I don't know, about 40 or 50 different points. We found a bug in the post office to do with the people. They're supposed to stay in the windows. If you come in and run to the right, the screen scrolls off and the people stay with it, so they get offset from their windows, which is obviously quite wrong. This is Dodgy City. In this place, to get atmosphere, we wanted to overlay spiders coming down from the screen, just to, you know, to make it a bit creepy. And one of the spiders in this version's gone a bit crazy and starts zooming across the screen.
The game slips further behind schedule because of errors in the code. Cosmic is about to miss his first Christmas deadline.
The 3 Sega versions are getting quite critical now. I've got to finish them in, well, 2 weeks today.
Do you think there's anything that we can do to try and help in terms of getting more programmers to work with you?
I don't think so. There's already about 6 or 7 people working on the Genesis one.
So maybe we might have to delay the launch by a week, I don't know.
The delay is bad news for sales and marketing, who've been planning a worldwide launch.
Well, I heard that earlier today that there was discussion that it was going to be put back a week.
She is a gas bag, isn't she?
We're already starting distribution in Australia. We're working on Japan.
Promotionally, point of sale, absolutely nothing. A, to send out to trade, and B, to get out to the end user.
We have Spanish, French, Italian and German-speaking salespeople.
Mega Drive, Cosmic Spacehead.
The major impact is to get a reaction.
So how much are you going to give me for the Cosmic preview?
We've now opened an office up in Boston and we're having salespeople based in the States.
Has he still got his red underpants?
Page, that's no use. They want a page. 2? Yeah, okay, I'll do it for 2.
Because I thought we could send out a pair of red wine fronts.
South Africa, Middle East.
That means you want to do lunch, doesn't it? I know you, pig.
Huge long things, and I'm talking like 3 or 4 foot long.
Croissants and coffee, please.
It takes some puff to get them up. They swirl around the room making that horrible squeaky noise.
India and Russia.
See you then. Bye.
The people that we have working for us are all free thinkers. We encourage that. We want them to be independent, come up with controversial ideas. We listen to what everybody says.
To get somebody to do something, you have to tell them why, and if they don't think it makes sense, they won't do it. And once people start arguing about it, you can soon see if somebody's just trying to dictate, and the concept will just fall on the floor.
I wouldn't want people to think that I come in as a sort of top manager person in the company, interfering with things that I don't know anything about. So I try to make sure that everything I get involved with I fully understand.
We have a rule where we won't, one person can't employ another person unless he thinks that person is more talented than he or she is at a few different things. So you're employing peers rather than assistants.
I think of the 3 of us, I'm probably the least of a hard taskmaster.
Cosmic performs for his hard taskmaster. The post office people stay in their windows, and the other bugs too have been squashed. But David Darling has spotted something else.
David spent 10 hours on the game at the weekend, playing it solidly, which I think was his first real look at it. He's obviously had a glimpse of it before, but it's the first time he's seen the finished thing, so He came to me with a sheet of 35 points, which was a bit horrifying.
Like, to begin with, a game should be easy so you can get into it, but quite soon get challenging, otherwise you'll lose interest. And it was like that for maybe 4 hours, but then it started not getting more challenging. So that was the biggest suggestion that I made, that he made the challenges quite a lot more difficult as the game went on.
Once again, Cosmic goes back to the drawing board. With only hours before his world premiere, work begins on a TV commercial.
Play it.
At the European Computer Trade Show, Cosmic makes his big debut for buyers and the press. Depending on their reaction, he'll hit or miss the Christmas jackpot.
If a character takes off, then it can be really successful, and it can make everybody a lot of money, all of the shops and distributors and everybody. So they're interested in finding out as much as they can about Cosmic.
They probably are better known within this industry than probably any other people. I think they gained a lot of respect from the industry as a whole and from a lot of people outside the industry, but clearly sticking to their guns.
Can I take you with sweet Cosmic candy?
A lot of the people who began as writers of games ended up going back to being developers because they didn't accumulate the acumen and skills necessary to be in business. Codemasters bucked that trend, and they're very nice people too.
These guys are so rich and so successful, but you meet them and they're like quite shy, and it's just really weird. They're just like ordinary Joes, which is quite an achievement, because usually people, if they start getting loads of money, they tend to get a bit snooty, but David and Richard aren't like that at all.
Cosmic's time is up. He's in production 2 weeks late, but just in time for Christmas. The Darlings are confident he'll help them to fend off industry giants and even to become one.
There's so many hardware people getting involved that I think it's people are taking their eye off the ball and forgetting that it's really software that runs the industry.
We'll watch the marketplace and see which hardware is successful, and then follow in with software for that particular machine. With the net result that Codemasters should become the #1 publisher of video games, the worldwide #1 publisher of video games.
To do that means creating a continuous stream of hit products, which in effect secures our future.
Some other companies just see it as a way to earn a lot of money in 5 years and then sell out. But we're not, we want to be here in 50 years.